Breaking news. The Baltimore Ravens are facing a wave of criticism this week, with tensions rising after their disappointing Week 11 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Many fans have criticized coach John Harbaugh online, even calling for his dismissal. Others defend Harbaugh and recognize that he is not to blame, and at this point, there is no one available who can be better than him. Now I want to hear from you, Ravens fan. What do you have to say about John Harbaugh? Leave your comment. If you believe the Baltimore Ravens will make it to the Super Bowl, hit that like button hard. Honestly, I totally believe it. Now let's get to the news that has been generating a lot of discussion behind the scenes in the last few hours. Former NFL coaches, including John Gruden and Rex Ryan, have weighed in, pointing to penalties and execution problems as the team's Achilles heel. Gruden has expressed utter frustration with the increasing holding calls and mistakes, emphasizing how costly these errors have become to the Ravens' playoff aspirations. Rex Ryan went even further, calling out offensive coordinator Todd Monken and head coach John Harbaugh, suggesting that their schemes and strategies are a major hindrance to the team. Penalties have become the Ravens' defining problem this season, as they currently lead the league in this category. These self-inflicted wounds have repeatedly crippled offenses and transferred momentum to their opponents. Against Pittsburgh, missed field goals added to the frustration, leaving many to wonder if the team can clean up its act before the postseason. Even Harbaugh himself has taken responsibility, stating, "The buck stops with me." However, the conversation surrounding blame is not one-sided, with analysts debating how much falls on the coaching staff versus the players. Despite the chaos, there is optimism that these types of penalties can be fixed with more disciplined preparation and sharper in-game execution. Looking ahead, the Ravens are gearing up for a high-stakes Monday Night Football matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. This game could have massive playoff implications, particularly in a crowded AFC, where every loss tightens the race for seeding. For the Ravens, cleaning up penalties and re-establishing their dominance is crucial. The coaching staff is under pressure to get this team back on track. Harbaugh's pride in his historically strong special teams unit, which has faltered this season, has also been called into question. Longtime observers of Baltimore football know that special teams excellence has been a cornerstone of their identity, but lapses in that area have only added to their struggles this year. Beyond penalties, execution remains a pressing concern. The Ravens' offense has shown flashes of brilliance, led by quarterback Lamar Jackson, yet inconsistencies have opened the door for criticism. Kimberly Martin recently exposed sports analyst Chris Mad Dog Russo for making derogatory comments about Lamar Jackson, highlighting a broader media narrative that has scrutinized the star quarterback unfairly. Despite Jackson's standout performances this season, some critics continue to question his ability to win big games, particularly against AFC rivals like the Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs. However, Ravens fans know Jackson thrives on silencing his doubters, and a strong showing against the Chargers could shift the narrative once again. The Ravens' offensive line has also faced scrutiny, with players like Patrick McCarry being flagged for costly penalties. Analysts argue these mistakes are fixable, but require more precise coaching and adjustments in-game. Todd Monken, in particular, has drawn criticism for not putting Jackson and the offense in better positions to succeed during critical moments. Still, Baltimore's offense is one of the league's most productive this year, offering hope that improvements in execution and discipline could unlock their full potential.
Defensively, the Ravens have shown resilience, especially in containing opponents in the red zone. The unit, however, faces questions about its depth and performance without key players like Roquan Smith, whose absence was felt against the Steelers. With the Chargers' offense looming, Baltimore's defense will need to step up to prevent another high-scoring affair. The return of players like Kyle Hamilton in the secondary is promising, but adjustments will be key to limiting big plays from the Chargers' weapons. This week's matchup is a litmus test for the Ravens. Can they rise above the criticism, clean up the penalties, and prove they are still serious contenders? Or will the trend of self-inflicted wounds continue to haunt them? Ravens fans, this is where we want to hear from you. How confident are you that Baltimore can turn things around and deliver a strong performance against the Chargers? What changes do you think the team needs to make to avoid another disappointing outcome? Let us know in the comments below. Continuing with the next part of the analysis, it's impossible to ignore the critical voices surrounding the Ravens, particularly from former NFL coaches. John Gruden's fiery comments about the team's penalties took center stage as he highlighted the holding calls and other infractions that have plagued Baltimore this season. His frustration mirrors what many Ravens fans have been feeling. Gruden's message was loud and clear. The Ravens are defeating themselves. This echoed the sentiment shared by other critics, including Bill Belichick, who has consistently pointed out Baltimore's struggles with self-inflicted wounds. Rex Ryan, a former Ravens coach, was also vocal, directly criticizing Todd Monken and John Harbaugh. His pointed remark that Monken is the only offensive coordinator capable of defeating the Ravens underscores the belief that Baltimore's issues are less about talent and more about execution. This leads to the fundamental question, can a team this penalized realistically contend for a Super Bowl? The consensus is no, but the good news is that penalties are fixable. The Ravens' ability to clean up these mistakes could be the key to a successful postseason. Another recurring theme from analysts like Sam of the Locked on Ravens podcast is the need for improved execution. Lamar Jackson, despite being one of the league's most dynamic players, has faced criticism for his performance in the loss to the Steelers. Some of these critiques, such as those from Chris Russo, seem to be more about perpetuating old narratives than analyzing the current situation. Russo's dismissal of Jackson while hyping up quarterbacks like Josh Allen was met with sharp rebuttals. Kimberly Martin exposed Russo's contradictions, pointing out that his arguments were inconsistent and rooted more in bias than fact. Stephen A. Smith, often known for his bold takes, surprisingly became the voice of reason in this discussion. He argued that one bad game doesn't define a season and highlighted Jackson's overall contributions as evidence of his MVP-level play this year. This clash of opinions reflects a broader narrative in the NFL media, where quarterbacks like Jackson often face undue scrutiny compared to their peers. Despite the criticisms, Jackson's leadership and accountability have remained steadfast as he focuses on rallying his team for the challenges ahead. The upcoming matchup against the Chargers carries significant weight, not just for playoff implications but also for the team's morale. With a 7-4 record, another loss, especially to an AFC rival, could severely impact Baltimore's seeding. The Ravens cannot afford to make the same mistakes that cost them the game against Pittsburgh. Players like Roquan Smith, who stepped up significantly last week, will be key in maintaining defensive stability, particularly with injuries affecting the roster. In terms of adjustments, John Harbaugh has already taken accountability for the team's issues, a move that could galvanize the locker room. The team's pride, especially on special teams, has been a hallmark of Harbaugh's tenure. However, this unit has shown signs of decline in recent years. The challenge now is to return to the level of precision and discipline that once defined them. From cleaning up penalties to refining execution in critical moments, every detail will matter as the Ravens prepare for a high-stakes Monday Night Football showdown. The Chargers present a unique challenge, with several familiar faces in their coaching staff who understand Baltimore's schemes. Defensively, the Ravens will need to adapt without key players like Travis Jones, but their depth gives them a chance to contain the Chargers' offense. Now it's your turn to weigh in, Ravens fans. Do you think the team can fix its penalty issues and execute at the level needed to make a deep playoff run? What are your predictions for Monday Night Football against the Chargers? Let us know your thoughts.